Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this image. Now at first sight that looks like your fairly standard drop a strawberry into a glass of water type image. But actually it isn't. If you take a closer look at it you can see that there are streaks or lines following the strawberry down into the glass. And all of the eruption that comes out of that is caught in a different sort of way. So I'm going to take you through all the techniques and tips that you will need to capture this image in more or less one shot. Okay, so to get started then, what I've set up so far is this table with a piece of black perspex on the top of it. And the glass, which I've put in the middle of the table here. I've got my camera with a 24-70 zoom lens on it and a flash trigger on the top, and as usual it's tethered into this PC, which is running Capture One software. So as you've probably gathered, with this sort of thing I used a couple of strip boxes either side of the glass for the main illumination. Okay, so this is the first of the strip boxes that I'm going to be using. This is a Profoto D2 with a 1x4 strip box on the front of it. So I'll just place that there. Something like that, and I've placed this so that the front edge of the box here is just about in line with the center line of the glass. So something like that. Anyway, we'll adjust it later. I'll just put the other one in on the other side. So pop that on there. And again, this is another D2. With exactly the same strip box on the front of it, just lining it up so that it matches the other one really. Okay, so they're both more or less in place. I will just put some water in the glass. Just pour that in there, about there somewhere. Okay, so with all that set, the next thing to do would be just to make sure that the camera is lined up properly, which is what I will do now. We'll just have a little look. Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Okay. So with all that, I will turn on the flash heads, like so. And because of what I'm going to do, I'm going to need the modeling lights on these turning on. So I will turn both of those on now, like that. So next thing would be just a general test. So the settings that I have on the camera at the moment are 250th of a second, which is the flash sync speed for that camera. We have a nominal aperture of f11, and we'll just fire a frame off just to see what that looks like. Okay, so at first view that doesn't look too bad. It's relatively clean. The background is good. I'll just zoom in just to check the focus. That doesn't look too bad. Okay, so as far as the exposure is concerned for the flash, that's more or less set for the time being. But what I want to do is make use of the modeling lights here to be able to capture a longer exposure of the actual strawberry, in this case, falling into the glass. So first of all, a couple of little tips just to make sure that we make this whole process as repeatable as possible. So one of the things would be to make sure that you are actually dropping the strawberry into the glass from exactly the same point every time. So in order to do that, what I have here is a lab stand. And what I can do is, by using this weight on a piece of string, I can just line this up so that the end of the stand here is directly over the center of the glass. So if I just move this around a bit, like so, like that. Okay. So with that done, I now know that every time I drop the strawberry into the glass, it will end up in the same place. But I don't want to drop anything in just yet. There's a few other little things to do first. Okay, so with that set, what I'd like to do next is just modify the settings a bit so that I can make use of the modelling lights to capture the strawberry actually dropping into the glass itself. So the first thing I'm going to do is change the flash sync speed. So I've got that set up over here at a 250th of a second. Now if I take a picture without any of the flash on, so if I just take the flash sync off the top of the camera and we just capture a picture, we're not getting a great deal there. So what I'm going to do is take the sync speed down to about a quarter of a second. And we'll just give that another go. Okay, and now we're starting to get an image. Obviously it's a bit red. That is mostly because the modelling lights on these units are actually tungsten balanced, not daylight balanced. But that shouldn't matter for our purposes today. Okay, the other thing that I might want to do is I think just change the aperture for a more reasonable 5.6 or something like that. There we go. And I'll just give that another test. There we are, that's brightened it up a bit. Okay, now obviously all these other reflections that you can see in there are all caused because we still have the house lights on. But I'll leave those for the time being, but we will have to turn them out to actually do the proper captures. Okay, so with a quarter of a second set and an aperture of 5.6, I'll just check the focus point again. Yeah, that looks okay. So the next thing to do would be to recheck what's going to happen with the flash. Now obviously I've changed the aperture, so I'm going to have to change the power, the energy rather, on the flashes. So I took it from 11 to 5.6, which is 2 stops. So I could take 2 stops off each of the flashes, which is what I will do now. So with that modified, I will just take another image. Yeah, that's okay. For the time being, that looks all right. Okay, so with all that set then, I'm just going to turn out the house lights and we'll take a test exposure. There we go. Yeah, that looks okay to me. There's a couple of things that I might like to do with that actually, and one of which would be just to extend this highlight down the bottom of the glass here. Now obviously at the moment that is cut off because the softbox is below the level of the table. So a little trick that you can employ to rectify that is to use a mirror. So if we just put a mirror in here, and I'll put another one at this side, and now we take another image. Now you should be able to see from that one to that one that these highlights are now bending round the glass more. So again, if I just move these a bit closer, like this, we take another image, you should be able to see now that these have bent right round the bottom of the glass. Obviously you've got these in the shot, but that doesn't really matter because you can take those out later in Photoshop. So with that captured, I'll just take these out of the way. I'll put a mark on that image so we know that that is the right one, and I'll also put a mark on this image because we're going to need that one as well. So those two together are going to form our base image when we come to put all this together in Photoshop. Okay, so now it would be time to do a test with a strawberry. Now as soon as you start dropping things into the water, obviously the water is going to go everywhere and you're going to make a mess. But because we've got that blank image to start with, we don't actually need to clean up every single time. Okay, so if I just grab hold of the strawberry and pop it on the end of the pole here, and I will let go of the strawberry at the same time as I press the shutter on the camera. Like that. And there you go. You can see for the first attempt that's not bad at all. We've got quite a lot of splashes coming out. We've got the strawberry in there. That doesn't look too bad. But one thing that you can do which will help get the timing right for these is to lock the mirror up on the camera. If I just come over here and come down to mirror lockup, if I just change that to press twice to shoot, what will happen now is the first time I touch the shutter release, it will lock the mirror up, and the second time I touch the shutter release, it'll actually capture the image, which means that the time delay of the mirror coming up won't be relevant. So we take the strawberry, lock the mirror up, hold it on the end of the arm, and have another go. There we go. So you should be able to see there that you have the streak of the strawberry coming down into the glass, and then the strawberry in the glass itself. Obviously we're getting a few drops of water around on the table, but because we've got that blank image, this one up here, that doesn't really matter. And you just generally keep doing this until you've got a good result. So I'll take that out, put it on the end of the arm, lock the mirror up, that was a little late. Lock the mirror up. There we go, that's the sort of thing. Right, so what's starting to happen now is we're getting some drips around the inside of the glass here. So I will just pop that down there and see if we can do something about those. Just to clear that off a bit, like so. Being very careful not to move the glass too much, if at all. Let's give that another go. There we are, that's a nice one. Another thing that you can do, just to give a bit of variation, I've been using first curtain sync. Now you can change that. So for instance, if I change that to second curtain sync, and now give it a go, it will fire the flash at the end of the shutter instead of at the beginning. I'll show you the difference that makes. So this time, what happens is that you can see that the strawberries just drop down there, and then all this water which is being ejected has now been caught by the flash. Now I actually prefer the first curtain sync, but we'll give this a couple of tries just to see if you can get something which is worth looking at. Lock the mirror up, and there we go. Yeah, so this illustrates really what I was talking about. You've got the streak of the strawberry coming down, and then the flash fires. Whereas before, what we had was the flash firing, and then the strawberry coming down. I think these ones are better and show a bit more dynamism in the image than doing it that way around. But the choice is yours. And it is fairly random after all, so you're going to get a result no matter which way you go. I just lock that up again. There we go. Yeah, I think I do prefer to put that back on first curtain sync. We'll just take one or two more. Lock that up. There we go. That's the sort of thing. That's quite a successful one. So with that captured, now it only remains to put them all into Photoshop and glue the whole thing together, which is what I'm going to do now. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. I've loaded all the images, so we can just have a little look through. And this is literally the last one that I took. So here are all the others, and the two base images. Okay, so what I think I'd like to do is just make a stack of all those images. So I'll just go to File, go down to Scripts, and load files into Stack. Add Open Files, and click on OK. There we go. So this has put these in this stack, so I can come down here and just turn them off and on as required. Now actually what I want to do is just reorder this a little. So I'm going to put that one at the very bottom, and then put that one next to it, like that. Turn the others off. So that's the very base image, and that's the one with the mirrors in. So what I'm going to do is just add a mask to that. In fact, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will add an inverse mask just by holding down the Alt key and then hitting that. There we go. So now wherever I paint with white, it will reveal the image below. So basically I just want to bring those bits back in on this glass just to give it a bit more of a bit of shape. It just shows the shape of the glass a bit better, I think. So with that in place, I can then start looking at the rest of the images. That was the very last one that we took, which I think is probably one of the ones that I'm going to use. Let's just have a look at some of the others. That one I actually quite like as well. I think that one's maybe a little over the top. So the choice is that one or that one. I think that one. Right, so with that one selected, what I will do is again, I'm going to go for an inverse mask, like so. And now wherever I paint, it will bring back that part of the image. So if I just start from here, like so. I think that adds quite a bit to it actually, that's quite nice. Yeah, I quite like that. We could possibly add a few bits. If I just turn that off, this eject here looks quite nice, and those eject bits look quite nice as well. So what I might do is, this time I'm just going to use a normal mask. Whoops, that's on the wrong layer. That's my fault entirely. Let me just delete that. Pop down to there, add a normal mask, and then this time, wherever I paint in black, it will get rid of that part of the image. So let me just turn that one back on. We'll just see what we can do there. Get rid of that bit and get rid of that bit. I want to leave the other bits coming out the sides. We'll just get rid of all the rest of the background because we don't need any of that. Make it all nice and clean. There we go. So that's given us a bit of a composite. I don't know that adding any more will actually make it any better. I think that's pretty good as it is. I quite like that. Okay, so now it just remains to, I think what I would do is make a stamp layer of all these bits. So I'll just click off the layers, hold down the Shift key, Control key, Alt key, and press the E key. And then that's made me this layer here, which is a combination of everything that's below it. But I've still got everything that's below it, should I need to edit them later. So with that one selected, what I think I might do is just have a little look at a crop. I think this would probably be quite nice as an upright image like that. I quite like that. Yeah, something like that. would do fine, I think. So click on OK. And there we go. So that is my final rendition of dropping a strawberry in a glass, which is a bit different to the normal versions of these things. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that, and if you like watching these sort of things, just click on the other images as they appear, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much.